And if y'all are hearing me, can you leave a quick comment in the chat? And good morning to everybody that is checking in. And let me know where y'all are checking in from for the early birds. All right, we're live. Should be good. And yeah, that was quick. Shout outs to Disco G. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. Absolutely. I'm happy that the videos are helping. And for anybody else that is here, can y'all check into the chat? Let me know where you are messaging from. And for the people that are coming in, make sure that y'all give this live a like and let me know where you are coming in from in the comment, in the chat section. And Cindy Francis from Trinidad. Nice, nice. Good morning. Good morning, Trinidad. And what's the weather? What's the weather like in Trinidad right now? Let's see. Yes. It's very windy, not much rain as the 4 days. Okay. Always happy for good weather. And shout outs to Lily A stepping in. Hey, and good morning. Yeah, it's still morning. So hopefully we get a good turnout for today's live. Today is the this live is the fifth live so far, and normally, people just start roping in as we continue. So any questions regarding spiritual warfare, spiritual attacks, all of that paranormal type of stuff? Today is a good today's session is a good live session to bring those in. And thank you, Joy Morgan, for checking in. Good morning. And hey, hey there, Sandra, coming in from New York. So, Sandra, everyone, is in the Master Your Energy group coaching program for anybody that is looking for a group of like minded people that you can grow with. If you want to join that class, that is open. And, we meet Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. EST. So check to see if that if that time zone works for you. So people are coming in from different time zones. Jump and go here. Yep, there we go. Yeah, so there's the Master Your Energy group coaching program for anybody that is looking for group coaching specifically versus one-on-one consulting, because I do those. But if you're looking for a group of light workers, healers, star seeds, alchemists, very similar to you, we meet Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 6 p.m. EST. In a private group setting where we'll talk about spiritual warfare, spiritual healing, psychological healing, overcoming childhood trauma, how to handle PTSD, how to navigate life after narcissistic abuse, how to achieve your goals, and all of that. So for anybody again that is looking for group coaching, consider applying for the MYE program. And we're going to be getting into some very deep stuff here, in today's live. And hopefully, this kind of clarifies a lot of the information that is harder because it is spiritual warfare. So get the help from wherever you can get it. Watch the YouTube videos, find a good coach, find a good therapist, and make sure that you're well-rounded in this spiritual battle. Plug this in. There we go. Yep, that is plugged in. And shout out to I Am Ro coming in from the Netherlands. Nice. And the Netherlands is hot today. Right, heat is good. Hopefully it's not too hot. So I Am Ro writes, good, almost evening. It's suddenly very hot today from the Netherlands, and I wanted to learn more about this topic because sometimes it feels like I'm in this kind of stuff. Okay. Yeah. So I definitely hope that today's live is very informative, and also know that there's a playlist on the channel about all of these spiritual attacks because I've made so many different videos on them. So find that little playlist and I'll paste it in there. But again, there's a playlist on the channel. So many different videos. I think over 50 videos at this point. But these lives especially are very good for, you have questions that you want to ask that, may not work out, just going through the YouTube comment section. So all of those different questions, make a list of them and we'll kind of plug away at them as we go through today's live. And that Disco G writes, how does one know if it's a spiritual attack? We're definitely going to get into how to identify attacks today. So we're going to go from 11:30 because it's 11:30 here in EST. So 11:30. So we're going to do a 2-hour live. Most of the lives are 2 hours. So I'll try to answer most of those questions in that time frame. So the lives are mostly 90 minutes to 2 hours, which is 120 minutes. All right, let's see. And Matthew coming in from Tasmania, Australia. Nice, nice. Shout outs to Down Under, Australia in the building. Hey. And hey there to Carolyn Forge. Good morning, good morning. Alrighty, so we're gonna get started in just about a minute. But again, if you have multiple questions, just kind of, keep them together. And as we go through today's live, we'll just plug away at them. All right, let's see where we are at. So what we are going to be talking about here. So I have a couple of, and we'll see how much of this we get through, right? Because, we have a pretty short window. We could talk about this for hours, right? So today we're going to be talking about the invisible battles that shape our healing journey. Because again, narcissistic abuse is spiritual warfare. So the first thing that we're going to talk about then is, if it's spiritual warfare, then what is spiritual warfare? So that's number one. And we'll also get into understanding narcissists as spiritual oppressors. Additionally, we'll get into what their real agenda is, some signs that you're under spiritual attack, and very important, then, what are some tools that we can use in this spiritual battle? And we'll wrap that off, for anybody that needs coaching or other consulting, or where do you need to go to actually implement this if you need help. So, pretty packed session today. And this is what we are going to be jumping into. So as we go through today's live, again, if you have any questions on the live, about what we're talking about here, maybe something that you saw in a video on the channel or other personal stuff that you're comfortable sharing, you can put that in the chat and we'll plug away at that as we go through. So if maybe some people are coming in and maybe this is your first live. So these are very engaging. So as we go through, again, feel free to share any questions that you may have, engage in the chat. And let's see. Yep, that's the first one. So yeah, engage in the chat as we go through. Again, any questions that you have, leave them. If you're comfortable sharing those questions, that is, go ahead and leave those in the chat as we go through today's live class. So first up, let's talk about what is spiritual warfare, right? So when we're talking about spirit here, it's not necessarily something that is religious. What we're talking about is energy, right? I'm going to bring up another slide here in just a bit. But know that what we are talking about is energetic warfare because spirit is energy. And we are spirit. We are the energetic beings that are having this physical experience. And with that comes discernment. Because, you are a spirit, so is a narcissist. And then what we truly need to then be clear on is what side of the fence are we on? So oftentimes on the channel, you see me use the Hawkins scale. Here it is. I'm going to jump to this slide here really quick. So let me bring up the Hawkins scale. So you should be seeing this on your side. So there's a slight delay in the graphics. So give it a couple of seconds. So when we're taking a look at the Hawkins scale by Dr. David R. Hawkins, this is a good overview of what you can use as a visual representation of consciousness. So know that there's no top or bottom of the consciousness ladder again because it's energy, but this is a good visual of what you're dealing with. And you can find this scale in so many different books. And actually, let me know in the chat for anybody, have you read Power versus Force by Dr. David R. Hawkins or any other books by this particular author? Because he also writes, transcending the level of consciousness, like over 20 different books. So if anybody has read this book and you want to leave your feedback on this, go ahead and let me know that in the chat section. So you can read, if you can see the scale, besides Googling a picture of the scale. So you see me use this often on the channel because I want you to have a very clear image in your head, right? Or in your mind of what consciousness actually would technically look like if you had a visual. Because again, it's energy. It's not physical. You cannot touch spirit. It's energy. Just like how you can't touch oxygen. So when we're talking about spiritual warfare, then we're talking about the battle of good and evil, light and dark, yin and yang. And the important thing is for you to truly understand what side of the fence are you on versus the other individual that you're dealing with. Right? Because if we're talking about a pathological narcissist, then that disorder, which is essentially a spectrum of energy, right? So that spectrum is based off dysfunctional shame and it tops out at dysfunctional pride. That's a disorder. So you're talking about a low vibrational energy. Low vibrational energy. And if we're talking about low vibrational energy, and we are here to grow and we are here to expand, then you don't want to be caught up with somebody that is at that spectrum, right? Because you're not truly operating from that, you're not operating from the same level of consciousness. And that is where the conflict is going to come from. And let me see, we got some comments. Yeah, shout outs to artists stepping in. That's from before. Yep. So pathological narcissists again are rooted in their shame and unable to move past their pride. And that's really the main thing that you truly need to understand, in that if somebody's stuck in that contracted state, they're not in a free flowing state. They're not really in a giving state. They're stuck in suffering. They're stuck in survival mode. And this is where discernment comes in for us to truly figure out, what side of the fence are we actually on. So, spiritual warfare again is the energetic warfare that is happening between you and other people. And if we're talking about pathological narcissists, we're talking about people that are operated by an evil spirit, which will delve deeper into that as we go through today's live. So, it's spiritual. And because it's spiritual, then it's going to affect every facet of your being. So it's going to affect your psychological it's going to affect your psyche, right? It's going to affect your emotions. It's going to affect your mind, right? It's going to throw you off even physically. And again, we'll get into some of these signs that you very well may be under attack. But the first thing is to understand, and if life is spiritual, then it is important that you understand spiritual warfare, which is narcissistic abuse. So we're talking about conflict. Again, it's the energetic warfare or the energetic dance, right, between good and evil, yin and yang, light and dark. Again, whatever the language is that you want to use for that is perfectly fine. And this warfare or this interaction never ends. And that is why you have to be aware. So we are talking about then the conflict between the forces of light, and light that we're talking about here is going to be talking about truth, love, empathy, healing, and so on. And when we're talking about darkness, which, we're talking about the bottom of the consciousness ladder, or the bottom of the Hawking scale, then we're talking about lies, connivery, deception, dissociation, right? Oppression and manipulation. And this is why there's not really much of a healthy relationship that you can have with a pathological narcissist, because you are two opposing forces. It's like oil and oil and water do not mix. All right. So when we're talking about narcissistic abuse, then that is the battlefield. Just like how soldiers go to war, then narcissistic abuse is the war. That's the war. Again, not to say that you knew that you were signing up for a war, but that is the battlefield. And in the battlefield of narcissistic abuse, then, you need to know how to navigate and how to defend yourselves. So, next, let's talk about narcissists as your spiritual oppressors. And you very well may not see them as that, at least not initially, right? But that is what you are dealing with, because you cannot grow with one of these personality types because they are against growing. You're dealing with people that love chaos. So you cannot grow with a chaotic personality type. And because of the arrested development, let me actually go back to the Hawking scale slide, right? So know that narcissists have arrested development, right? We're talking about a very severe mental illness. And not only is it mental, it's spiritual. It's going to affect you at every facet of your being. So the default state, and again, they're stuck in that negative state. They're stuck at the bottom of the consciousness ladder. So if you're dealing with one of those personalities, then the default is that you're dealing with someone that is seeking control and domination over you. Right? Narcissists believe that they own you. They want to control you. They want to control how you think. They want to control how you dress. They want to control how you speak. All of that. That is what you get from that level of consciousness, which is a very low level of consciousness, right? People that are highly controlling, like narcissists, aren't sane, sentient, healthy, stable adults. They're unstable by default. And this is why they behave how they behave. And it's when you truly understand that we're all operating at varying levels of consciousness. And with that, then you have to discern what is truly happening, right? You have to discern the level of consciousness that the other is operating at, because from there, you can know how to navigate. Because narcissists are stuck in a contracted state. They are not in a free flowing state. That's why you can't get love from them. That's why you can't get kindness from them. It doesn't exist. They're stuck again in that contracted state because of their unhealed childhood trauma. Keyword: unhealed childhood trauma that manifested itself in a personality disorder. So it's a disorder. So they lack, you're dealing with someone that truly lacks the ability to self-reflect. And since they cannot truly self-reflect, they don't grow. And this is why you're dealing with a regressive disorder, because we are here to grow. We are here to expand. We see that pathological narcissists cannot truly get into that expanded state. They can't. They have too much baggage that needs to be dealt with, right? So know that when we're talking about spiritual oppression, SOAR then has a couple of different tools that they can use. Narcissists have a good variety of tools that they can use to abuse you, right? They like to gaslight. They love, that's like one of, besides lying and all of that, narcissists love a good gaslight. I think they love gaslighting, maybe a little bit more than triangulation. Not to say that they don't love triangulation too, but they love a good gaslight. Narcissists love a good gaslight. And what is gaslighting? Let me go ahead and underline that. What is gaslighting? All right. Gaslighting is essentially when abusers or manipulators try to twist your reality to their false reality. So they will abuse you, and then they're trying to convince you that abuse is love. Right? They're lying to you, and they're trying to get you to accept that their lies and connivery are truth. You're trying to bend your reality, because if they can bend your reality and you listen to them, then you're going to get down there into the dimension where the narcissist is at, and then that is how they can feed on you. That is how they can feed on you, because you listen to them. They got in your ear. So gaslighting, triangulation, the double bind where nothing is ever right. The narcissist asks for an apple, you get the narcissist an apple. They complain about the apple. Then they said, no, you should have given me a plum, so you get the plum. The narcissist complains about the plum. They said you should have gotten an orange. You give them the orange. They say that they didn't want an orange. You should have gotten a banana. That's the dysfunction. That's the double bind. You can never be right with somebody that is losing their mind. You can never be right with somebody that is stuck in the upside down, because the ego cannot be fed. Narcissists cannot be satiated, right? You're dealing with energy vampires. They always need energy. So yeah, very good comment here by Global Rights. People do not like themselves, so they make a fake world where they are perfect and everybody else is wrong. They will never admit the shame inside of their thoughts about who they really think they are, and they believe they are godlike with the powers of life. That is what you're. That all of that are symptoms of somebody that is trapped in their lower ego. Again, based in shame, they don't really like themselves, but they cover that up with grandiosity. And the grandiosity is a false confidence because they don't truly love themselves. All right. Molly H writes, is is it genetic at all? My entire family is NPD except me. So what you see is that cluster Bs, let me find my cluster B slide. Where's my cluster B slide? So is it genetic? Why are all of these narcissistic, toxic people around? Cluster B. Let's find those cluster Bs because it's not just NPD that is in there, right? So let's do a quick little recap on cluster Bs. Cluster Bs. Where's the cluster B slide? Here we go. All right, let's talk about cluster Bs. Here we go. All right. All right, so Molly writes, is it genetic at all? My entire family is NPD except me. So know that when it comes to cluster Bs, and NPD is in the cluster B of personality disorders. So that includes borderlines, narcissists, histrionics, antisocial personality disorder. An antisocial personality disorder. We'll say sociopath and psychopath, but again, the correct, at least what is in the DSM, they call it antisocial personality disorder, which is ASPD. All right. So cluster B personalities are created out of childhood trauma, neglect, abandonment, abuse, torture. All right. Cluster B personality disorders is created from childhood, abandonment, neglect, torture, abuse. All of that is trauma, which is inflicted by whoever raised the narcissist around you because it came from the dysfunctional family system. So what you will see is there are some children that make it out of these dysfunctional family systems and they come out with more so just CPTSD. But some people go past that CPTSD and they end up in personality disorders like cluster Bs. But it's not genetic. It's learned behavior. And any narcissist that you see, when you see the narcissist, look who raised the narcissist. Because the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree. Who raised the narcissist? That is why they ended up a narcissist. So while you may be a generational curse breaker, know that most people do not break the generational cycles in their dysfunctional family systems. What they do is they repeat it. So you would be the anomaly in that you broke out of the cycle, but again, everybody does not break. Most people participate or perpetuate the same dysfunction that they inherit from their dysfunctional caregivers. Those are your narcissists and toxic codependents because they don't grow up. They have arrested development. They didn't find, the needle in the haystack in order for them to properly heal. So yeah, narcissism, NPD, all of that. Again, when you see a narcissist, look who raised them. Whenever you find a narcissist or any toxic person, use any name that you want for toxicity. When you find a toxic individual, look who raised them. And when you look at who raised them, you'll see why they are the way they are. They could not grow out of the dysfunction. And shout outs to Tila. Hey there, Tila. So Tila is in the Master Your Energy group coaching program. Again, for anybody that is interested in group coaching. So we meet Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 6 p.m. EST online. And we delve deep into the same stuff that we do here on these lives, but it's more in private classroom format. So for the Master Your Energy group coaching program, all of that again is available on NarcDojo.com. So, send me a message, send me a WhatsApp, send me a text message if you have any questions. Let's see. All right, so where I'm at. All right, so Leisha Leggins writes, there is 140 million births per year. Will 85% of those babies have low vibrational mothers whom will not be able to have maternal love for their babies? That's a very good question, right? So if all of these births are happening, who's going to be loving these children? So with that, let me go ahead to the dysfunctional family system slide. And that is essentially where most of this is coming from. Here it is. And this is the dysfunctional family system slide right here. So most of us, again, grow up in some level of dysfunctional. So what it is that you have a more toxic parent, and then you have another parent that kind of enables them. So you could have like a greater narcissist and a lesser narcissist. Somebody's a narcissist and somebody's a borderline. Somebody's an overt narcissist, and maybe they're a covert narcissist. Maybe somebody's just an alcoholic, and maybe it's a single parent household. Whatever it is, they're emotionally immature, right? A narcissistic dysfunctional family system is an emotionally immature family system. So, if all of these children are growing up and all of that, and, they're growing up in dysfunction, just like we grew up in dysfunction again, what generally happens is some people go the more narcissistic route and then some people go the more enabling route. But regardless of where they go, there still needs to be healing done because all of this is victim abuser consciousness. So when you see those red circles and the orange circle, this is victim abuser consciousness. This is a victim abuser dynamic. This doesn't work. A narcissist is toxic, the enabler is toxic, the golden child is toxic, the scapegoat is toxic, the lost child is toxic because this is a dysfunctional family system. So for any children that are being born into these dysfunctional family systems, just like we were, they have to do the healing. They have to do the work to break out of this cycle to step into a healthier state, right? They have to break out of the third dimension to get into the fourth dimension or higher. So the work has to be done regardless. They'll have to find the love within that they didn't get from whoever raised them. But this is where we are coming from. So we ended up on the enabler side of the fence, on that orange side of the fence. Lily A writes, does social media make people narcissistic or does it bring it out of them? Okay, that's a good question. So when it comes to social media, right, social media in itself is a tool, right? Social media is a tool, just like how this marker is a tool. Somebody could use this marker, or a pen and write a really good book, or they could write a book to, of how to create weapons to attack someone, right? Just like this knife. This knife is a tool. And somebody could use this knife to, make a good sculpture. They could use this knife to cut a piece of bread. Or somebody else, like a prisoner, could use this knife to go and attack someone. The knife is a tool. So narcissists, emotionally immature people, etc., will use social media as a tool to get supply. But social media in itself isn't like bad. Because you found the NarcDojo channel, for example, via social media. YouTube is social media. Or, some people that found the channel on TikTok or whatever, wherever you found the channel from, right? So social media in itself is a tool, but narcissists will use that tool to get supply. So, you'll find the narcissist, cheating on Facebook and, creating fake profiles and, doing weird stuff like that. So they use social media as a tool to help them to manipulate. And social media, being that they can reach more people, gives them a better reach of finding more. So that's the cons of social media. But again, social media is why we are here. And social media is what, a lot of narcissists also use to hunt other people. So Sunray writes, I get attacked constantly. You can say it's bad luck, but I have been sure it's spiritual warfare now. It's gotten so bad that my life has been totally destroyed. So for Sunray or anybody that is, picking up the pieces, because again, it's warfare. There's going to be carnage, right? So I hope today's live enlightens you and helps you to kind of pick, toss out some pieces, put together some pieces in how to know how to identify the warfare and how to know how to protect yourselves also. So we'll get more into, the spiritual warfare and how to protect ourselves in a bit as we go through today's live. So Truth Seeker writes, the psychiatrist told me NPD is genetic and usually affects the males and comes from the father's side of the family. So there is a genetic. Also, when you find a toxic individual, who abandoned them. So I'll say it often on this channel that you need to discern. You need to discern. So, the psychiatrist said this, the dentist said this, the doctor said this, etc. Right? And they're going to tell you exactly what they have to tell you based on the framework that they're in. And here it is very simply, because you're going to say, who are the narcissists? People, I want you to find me a pathological narcissist that grew up in a healthy, stable, sane household with conscious parental figures. Healthy, sane, stable people. Find me any pathological narcissist of the 8 billion people that have been on this planet where their parental figures were healthy, stable, sane, sentient adults, and you cannot find me one. So then who abandoned them? Whoever raised them abandoned them. Whoever raised them abused them to the point that they dissociated and they had a personality disorder. It's not genetic, it's learned behavior. It's learned behavior. They behave just like the people that raised them. Find me alcoholic narcissists. Who was the alcoholic that they were hanging around? Or who enabled their alcoholic behavior? Who enabled them? Who abandoned them? The person that abandoned them is whoever raised them. The person that abandoned you for you to end up on NarcDojo is the person that raised you. Whoever raised them, it doesn't have to be a biological parent. It could be their aunts that raised them, their uncles that raised them. It doesn't matter who. They were broken to the point where their brokenness manifested in a point where they dissociated. They checked out and they did not check back in. That's not genetic. Pathological narcissism is created out of trauma. Who traumatized them but the people that raised them? Who raised the narcissist? Again, find me a pathological narcissist that is raised by healthy, sane, sentient, conscious adults. You cannot find me one. You cannot find one because they're not raised by sane, sentient people. They don't behave like sane, sentient people. They don't. And what it is, people, is that narcissists are broken. They checked out because they were in so much pain. Pain is what creates an ego. Pain is why people dissociate. So who caused it? Whoever raised them. Whoever raised the narcissist people. Narcissists are the apples that did not fall very far from the tree. They didn't fall very far. You don't have to look very far to understand why narcissists behave how they behave. You don't have to look very far. Whoever raised them. Whoever raised them. Doesn't have to be biological. That's not genetic. That's learned behavior. Molly H writes, I believe I was both the scapegoat and the lost child. Can you be more than one? Absolutely. These are just roles. So sometimes you're the scapegoat and, your parents are dumping their trauma onto you. Sometimes you're the lost child. They don't care about you. And you see what that lost child and scapegoat treatment is? That lost child and scapegoat treatment that we went through is abandonment, is neglect, is abuse. Everybody gets abused in the narcissistic dysfunctional family system. None of us get out alive. Every single one of us are getting abused or neglected with these emotionally immature parents. Every single one of us, the narcissist included. Now, the main difference is narcissists checked out. They didn't check back in. Yeah, they dissociated and they stayed dissociated. They're still drifting right now in that dissociative state. They couldn't check back in. It's too much pain, too much trauma. So sometimes, your parents will treat you half decent. Maybe when you were younger, oftentimes you're maybe a little bit of a golden child. But even being treated like a golden child is neglect. It's abuse. Being the scapegoat is abuse. It's neglect. Being the lost child is neglect. It's abuse. All of it is abuse. It's a dysfunctional family system. All of it. Being the surrogate parent. Some of you had to raise your younger siblings. Being the surrogate parent is abuse, is neglect. Being the mascot, where you have to be, dancing around to get attention. It is because you were emotionally neglected. Neglect is passive abuse. It's trauma. All of it is trauma. Narcissism is learned behavior, and so is codependence. Codependence is learned behavior. Why are you on this channel? We followed in the footsteps of the enablers that we were around. That's learned behavior. And if it's learned behavior, then we can unlearn that and step into a more healthy space. That's learned behavior. That's not genetic. It's not genetics, people, while you're on this channel. That's not genetics. You learned that behavior from your enabler parent, whoever they are. Maternal side, paternal side, who knows? You're on this channel because you were hanging around an enabler. I am teaching this live because I grew up around enablers and narcissists and alcoholics and people with various addictions that abandon their children because they're emotionally unavailable. They're not that deep. These people are shallow personalities. Do not add depth to it. So your roles will change based on whatever the dysfunctional caregivers want. So let's say you were good in sports. I'm making this up. Let's say you were good in sports or singing or arts, whatever talent you had, right? So when you have a talent, guess what that gets the narcissistic parent? That gets the narcissistic parent attention. So they'll give you attention as a golden child, but it's not love. You're being manipulated. They don't like you. They don't like the golden child. They don't like the scapegoat. They don't like the lost child. None of us are getting love. There's no love here. It's only abuse. It's only abandonment. It's only neglect. Emotionally immature parents do not have the capacity to love themselves, much less their children. Love does not exist. Being a golden child is not good. Spoiled, and some of you have the let me see it in the comments, people. Some of you have the golden child siblings, and I know, because I don't have to ask, I know they were spoiled rotten, and a lot of those golden children turned out to be narcissists, and now they start to abuse you, the scapegoat. Just like who? Who raised them? Who spoiled them? Who spoiled the golden children? Some of you have golden children siblings. Who spoiled them? Who spoiled the child to make them rotten? Who spoiled the child to make them rotten? Whoever raised them. Everybody gets neglected in the dysfunctional family system. So Leela Leggings writes, how is being the golden child abuse? How is being the golden child abuse? So here's the question, y'all. If I said, hey, I have some spoiled milk. Do you want to drink it? Now, this is spoiled milk right here. Do you want some? Would you accept that spoiled milk from me? Would you accept spoiled milk as an offering? Because if you wouldn't accept spoiled milk as an offering, then why are you spoiling children? Because if you're spoiling a child, that cannot be something good. Because when you spoil a child, you neglect to teach that child boundaries. So they grow up to be a boundaryless adult. An abuser that pushes other people's boundaries. Some of you dated narcissists that were golden children. They were spoiled rotten. So they're rotten adults. They're emotionally stunted, you see. Spoiling is neglect or spoiling is abuse because it creates trauma. You're not building self-esteem by spoiling. Children should be taught discipline. They should know what direction to go in. So when you have a spoiled child, and I've done a video on understanding the negative effects of spoiling on children. Spoiling is neglect. Spoiled children do not grow up to be conscious, self-sufficient adults. A lot of them turn out to be addicts because they don't know how to stand on their own because they were not taught how to stand on their own. So they resent and they envy stronger personalities than them because they don't have a stable foundation. They don't have a stable sense of self because they weren't taught a sense of self. They weren't taught a sense of self. They were taught to develop an ego. So people, were you not dealing with an egomaniac? Some of you dated golden children narcissists, the spoiled, rotten narcissists. That is why they're rotten. Rotten fruit, rotten at the root. Where were they planted? They were planted in a dysfunctional family system, and the apple did not fall very far from the tree. Rotten fruit, rotten root, they're rotten just like whoever raised them. Who raised the golden child? You see where they get their behavior from. Why are they egotistical and egomaniacs? Because they were raised by one. Somebody reinforced the narcissist's ego. Who was that person? Whoever raised them. Whoever raised them. They're not that deep. So when it comes to spoiling creates dysfunction. That's why you don't spoil children. Not to say that you can't be kind. We're not talking about kindness. Spoiling is a very particular thing, which is neglect. That's why they end up rotten adults, where they're big-headed and believe that they're better than you without merit. Spoiling creates grandiosity. A lot of you are dealing with the grandiose narcissists, and they kind of have some overlap with the covert narcissists, but that's where the behavior comes from. So Z Maurice writes, my narcissistic parents suppressed my talents. I was not allowed to practice and perfect my talent. Yep, everybody gets suppressed in the narcissistic dysfunctional family. See, you're going to try to grow up and be yourself. Nope, they're going to push you down. You have to stay in that emotionally immature state. You have to. You don't have an option. You have to be just about as stunted as the pathological narcissist. They're not that deep. So how dare you be better than me? They're competing. Even your parents, your narcissistic parents are competing with you. Your narcissistic sibling, the parents, the sibling, the cousin, the aunt, whoever they are, they were competing with you even when you were children. That is why they didn't want you to get better at your craft. They know what they were doing. They're not naive. They're empathy impaired, not knowledge impaired. They know what they're doing. Wherever you find a narcissist or a highly toxic person, there has to be somebody right next to them enabling them. So if we are here, we were dating narcissists, and where did we get our behavior from? We got it from the dysfunctional family system. So did the narcissist. Both of us are in victim abuser consciousness. Both of us are dysfunctional, not just the narcissist. Because if we got entangled to them, then we were also dysfunctional. And where did we learn our dysfunction from besides the same dysfunctional family system? So people, narcissists are codependent, and codependence is not genetic. That's learned behavior. You learned not to have proper boundaries. You were not taught to have proper boundaries because your dysfunctional caregivers didn't have proper boundaries to teach you in the first place. And that is why we could not truly discern who we were dealing with, because narcissism was a familiar spirit. We're getting into some very deep stuff here, people. This is the spiritual warfare. It was a familiar spirit, wasn't it? It felt familiar because it came from the family. Anybody that was married to the narcissist, girlfriend, boyfriend, baby mama, baby daddy, whoever it is, narcissistic friend, whoever the narcissist is, they felt familiar because it was a familiar spirit. So here's a question that you have to ask yourself. Who in your family, which one of your caregivers was the narcissist in your life most similar to? Which one of your caregiver, it could be one, could be multiple, whoever raised you, the narcissist in your life had a familiar spirit. You felt comfortable around them. Which one, or multiple, again, it depends on your family system. Is it the maternal side? Is it more of the paternal side? People, where was most of that toxicity coming from? Because it's a familiar spirit, because it came from the family. That is the spiritual warfare there that you need to understand. Toxicity shouldn't be familiar, but it was, because that is where we grew up. We didn't have an option. In the dysfunctional family system, this vibration, we were used to playing that game. We were used to playing the game. And in one, we'll eventually get into this, how to protect yourself. You don't play games with the devil. Know how to identify the devil that you're dealing with, but you don't play games with the devil. Why is it familiar? It's a familiar spirit because it came from the family. So Sandra Lindstrand writes, it came from the mother. The mother was covert. That's how you know, people, the narcissist reminds you of somebody in your family. Somebody in your family, because it's a familiar spirit. It's a familiar spirit. Let me see this comment here. And yep, so Lily A writes, my mom uses her golden child as a punching bag when she is low on supply. My sister is on all types of medication now. Yes, people, the golden child, yeah, a lot of golden children, not to say that, even us, lost children are scapegoats. Some of us end up on alcohol and, drugs and so on. Sure, yes. But let's talk about the golden child. People, the golden child doesn't get out easy. No, they're spoiled or rotten. They have self-esteem issues, right? They cannot cope internally. And sometimes, when they cannot cope internally, they go to the bottle, they go to pills, they go to meth and, all of these different things. Some of them end up hypersexual. Hypersexuality is an addiction. A lot of golden children end up addicts. That's why a lot of narcissists are addicts, because a lot of golden children end up very narcissistic, just like who raised them. If it's not who raised them, who enabled them? Right there in that dysfunctional family system. This is corruption. And as you go through today's life, you will see all of this is corruption. Everybody's getting corrupted. None of us get out scratch-free from this dysfunctional family system because it's dysfunctional. And what it is that the narcissist black hole is trying to absorb everybody's light. Everybody is getting drained. The narcissist is a walking void, just draining everybody's light. And this is why we have to leave. This is warfare. There's no love. There's no love in hell. It's dysfunction. This is it. This is all you get from the dysfunctional family system. Again, somebody is toxic and somebody must enable the toxicity. This is why narcissists need scapegoats. And this is why I tell you, you have to escape, be an escape goat. Otherwise, you're going to end up curried goat. You're food. They're going to curry you. You're food for abusers. They don't like scapegoats. They don't like anybody. These people don't like anybody. You're getting used. The enabler is using you. The narcissist isn't using you. Everybody gets it. The golden child may also use you too, because the golden child is going to be very similar to the toxic narcissistic parent. Everybody is getting drained. None of this is love. It's all abuse. It's all neglect. Everybody is getting drained in one way or the other. All right. I am right. My mother. So it looks like most people are saying here that it's coming from the maternal side. It's coming mostly from the maternal side. So I am right. My mother has alcoholism and almost has the same spirit. Yeah. So know that a lot of alcoholism, substance abuse addictions, meth, opioids, pills, even hoarding. Hoarding is an addiction, y'all, or shopping addiction. Look out for addictions in this dysfunctional family system. Look out for addictions. All right. Narcissists are number one people addicts, but they may have other addictions, right? Substance abuses like alcohol, meth, prescription pills. They may be porn addicts. They may be sex addicts. They may be gambling addicts. They may be shopping addicts. They may be hoarders. This dysfunction creates addictions within people. You will see it eventually. Some addiction is going to pop up, and codependence is an addiction. Codependence is an addiction. And Sandra writes, they pretend to be good, but they're very fake and evil. And I saw the covert manipulation in my husband and mother. There you go. So it's coming from the maternal side. All right. So when you look in your family systems, y'all, you could see that most of the trauma could be coming from the maternal side than the paternal side. Again, it could be 80-20, 60-40. You have to look and see what you're dealing with. So yeah, this is not genetic, y'all. For the narcissist or for the enabler, all of this is learned behavior. And if it's learned behavior, then we need to unlearn, and then relearn appropriate behavior, appropriate boundaries, appropriately how to protect ourselves from this dysfunction. Because narcissists are still going to exist. They ain't going nowhere. You're just more aware of the toxicity. And this is a toxicity here that we're breaking out of. We are stepping out of the third dimension into the fourth dimension or higher. We cannot commune with abusers or enablers or their flying monkeys. Nobody in this family system is healthy. They're all at the bottom of the consciousness ladder. And this is where we have to be honest with ourselves. If we were enablers, who were we enabling? Ta-da, a narcissist. Some toxic, manipulative, abusive person, just like the family system that we grew up in. This is what needs to stop. This is the warfare. Because anytime we entangle with a pathological narcissistic personality type, there must be abuse. There must be neglect. It comes with the territory of somebody that is stuck in suffering. It comes with the territory. Let me jump back to the warfare slide. It comes with the territory. This is that you don't want to play because there's no winners in hell. There's no winners in hell. This is the game. Don't play the game. Know how to identify the game and step out before you get entangled. That is the awareness. That is the awareness. Know how to identify and avoid pathological narcissists. Z. Maurice writes, it's learned behavior and a very poor choice to continue it without seeking healing. And because of the dissociation, y'all, narcissists can't truly self-reflect. They ain't got no self to self-reflect. Not anymore. Unfortunate reality. So understand again how to identify this toxicity so that you can step out before you get entangled. That's really the main thing. You don't want to be playing with the devil. You don't play games with the devil. You identify the devil and you avoid the devil. You find people that are similar to you. You're always looking for conscious people that are similar to you. You're not looking to entangle. You're not looking to enable any narcissists. So narcissists are your spiritual oppressors. You cannot have a healthy relationship with a narcissist. It doesn't exist. So what you will get is gaslighting, triangulation, the double bind. They're gonna lie on you. They're gonna smear your name. They're gonna smear your name because that's what a devil would do. A devil would smear your name, wouldn't they? They're gonna isolate you from your friends, from your family system. They'll isolate you from your network. That's what a devil would do. Oh yes. Because all of this is to drain your spiritual essence, because that is spiritual warfare. If we commune with a low vibrational being, they have to drain our energy because life is spiritual. If they can't get up, we have to get down. There's a barrier. They cannot pass that barrier in scale. Narcissists cannot move past their dysfunctional pride, their grandiosity. They believe the grandiosity is their superpower. So what they do is they mirror us and they trick us into believing that we're dealing with one of us. They're not one of us. Narcissists are abusers. They're stuck in victim abuser consciousness. So they mirror you through a type of glamour magic so that you think you're dealing with somebody like you. You're not dealing with one of you. So what eventually happens is we descend. We fall from grace. And then we end up down here in the hellish realm with the narcissist. And this is why we lose ourselves. We're not happy-go-lucky anymore. No. We're down there in victim abuser consciousness with the narcissist, going back and forth with an abuser in an abuse cycle. Narcissists can't give love. They don't have love. People, love is up there in the 500s. A purple marker? Narcissists don't have purple in their Crayola coloring kit. They have red markers and oranges. That's it. 500s. Narcissists do not have love. And they didn't have love before you met them, while you were with them, and after you left them. They didn't develop to that level of consciousness. This is spiritual warfare right here. Because we thought we were dealing with an equal. We thought we were dealing with an equal. We thought we were all this time. We were dealing with a devil. All this time, we were dealing with a devil. People, we have to be very honest. We were dealing with a devil, the devil, a member of the devil's legion. I'm not debating the name. We were dealing with a devil, the devil, an agent of the devil. There's no love in hell. It doesn't exist, people. That is spiritual warfare. So you very well could be playing this game and thinking you're going to win. There's nothing to win. You're in hell. All they're doing is feeding on your energy, draining the life out of you. And this is why we lose ourselves. We don't feel like ourselves anymore. We don't feel like ourselves because we were being drained. That's the warfare. And we couldn't see it because we were projecting. We think we're a decent person, so the narcissist is a decent person. You're a kind, loving individual, so the narcissist is a kind, loving individual. Narcissists are amoral and immoral in nature. Narcissists do not, I sincerely hope you understand this, everybody. Narcissists do not have a working conscience. They didn't develop a conscience. They didn't develop a conscience. The conscience is seared. It doesn't work. So when narcissists listen, or what they hear is the devil or devils in their ear. That's the level of consciousness that they are stuck at. Keyword stuck. Keyword stuck. Keyword stuck. And if they're stuck in hell, misery loves company. And guess who they're going to invite? The empath coming to save the day. Coming to save the day, trying to love the narcissist. Oh, the narcissist had a rough childhood. Oh, poor little victim narcissist. Poor little victim. That victim is an abuser. That's the deception. That's the deception. They pretended to be a poor little wounded dog. Yes, so that you can come in so that they can abuse you. That's the deception. That's it, people. That's the love bomb, devalue, discard, hoover. Love bomb, devalue, discard, hoover. That's a narcissistic abuse cycle in a nutshell. That's the war. And that is what you have to be aware of so that you don't fall in this trap. That is what you have to be aware of so that you do not fall in this trap. That's the tactics. Those are the tactics. All to drain your essence. Your soul is the currency. You generating the energy. Because in the underworld, they have to feed. They have to feed on you, people. They don't have an option. They have to feed. So Neo writes, they only get worse and worse. Yes, narcissists get worse with time. Get worse with time. Let me go back to the Hawkins scale. People, narcissists do not get better with time. They get worse. And you could think about that relationship. Maybe you're married to a narcissist. A friendship narcissist. Yeah, that relationship went down over time. They get worse with time. They get filled with more darkness with time. Alicia Leggins writes, my grandmother had narcissistic traits. My parents wore a mask of loving and wonderful parents for many years, and they did not see any signs of them. Oh, and I didn't see any signs of them being toxic until I was a teenager. Yeah. So normally it's when we kind of grow up, then we're able to truly see the toxicity. Because, when we're in it, when we're really younger, we're in it. But, when we get older, we can see the toxicity for what it is. Connie knows, right, is a psychopath, a narcissist that can know spiritually, that can know spirituality. Ask that question again. I don't know what you mean by that. So Connie knows, rewrite that question in another way. Alicia Leggins writes, I do not remember being abused. The reason why, that's a very good question. Why don't we really remember, what happened? So number one, know that oftentimes our memories or our minds repress a lot of memories. But know that there are two things here. Right? There's abuse, which is direct, right? Like a physical abuse, somebody's punching, beating, slapping, sexual abuse. Again, it's visual, right? But then know that you also have neglect. We have to look at neglect. What did they neglect to do, right? So if I had a plant and I didn't water it, I'm neglecting to water it. I'm not really abusing the plant and, punching the plant and, plucking off the leaves, but I'm neglecting the plant, right? I'm neglecting to give that plant sunlight, right? So you may not be overtly abused, but you were neglected. You were emotionally invalidated. So ask yourself in these dysfunctional family systems, everybody, did you truly have someone that you could go to as a child and talk to? Did you have a shoulder to lean on? Could you go talk to your parents and you felt safe and comfortable around them, telling them what was happening in your day-to-day life, etc.? And I can almost bet that the answer to that is no, because emotionally unavailable caregivers or emotionally immature parents are very distant from their child. So they may not beat you, but you're not really shown love. You're not really shown attention unless you perform, right? So there's neglect, which is passive abuse, and then there's abuse, which is active, right? So neglect. Look up emotional neglect or emotional abuse, emotionally invalidating you, right? There's nobody there to listen to your feelings and so on. So you'll see a lot of that emotional immaturity in and across these dysfunctional family systems. So oftentimes we don't remember being abused because maybe there wasn't abuse, but I can almost bet there was a whole lot of neglect. Could be medical neglect, etc. Again, these are the things that you have to kind of look into, because again, you may not have been abused. It very well may be neglect, and you cannot see emotional neglect because you don't have physical scars, but what you feel is a type of loneliness that is within you. This family system creates loneliness within us because even though we're physically surrounded by people, we are alone, right? The lost child is alone. They're surrounded by people, sure, but they are alone. The scapegoat is surrounded by people, sure, but they are being isolated, right? So look back for feelings of isolation and confusion and loneliness, and that is going to point you to emotional neglect or emotional abuse. It's not physical, that's why you can't see it. All right, very, very good question. So again, if you don't remember it, and also again, a lot of our memories get suppressed, and it takes some time to get out of that state of repression. And yeah, Lisha writes, the glamour magic you were talking about, would you say it is spell? Most definitely. Because we are under spell. We are under spells. That is exactly it. The narcissistic abuse cycle starts off with a spell. A love bomb is a spell. The idealization is a spell. Do you think I'm a human being? Because if you accept this as a human being, what you're accepting is the devil. You see, it's a bait and switch. This is what you're dealing with. It absolutely is a spell. If you want to say it's sorcery, it's witchcraft, etc. Again, you use whatever language that makes sense. It's using your powers for evil. Sorcery is using your powers for evil. It is using your powers to deceive. That is what narcissists do. Lily A writes, they need to go away already so we can. They need to go away already so that we can finally have peace and have it more abundantly. Yeah, yeah. We would hope that narcissists would vanish, right? But no, they're multiplying. Oh yes, narcissists will multiply. Because if you have children with a narcissist, they're gonna try to corrupt the children. They're always trying to corrupt somebody to get up to get onto their side, because again, it is spiritual warfare. How many souls can they control? And if you are here, you escaped hell. People, that is why you're here. I sincerely hope you understand that. You are here because you broke out of hell. Because you're like, I ain't playing these games no more. Something is off. Something is off because you cannot win with the devil. The devil, there ain't no winning in that game. It's a zero-sum game. Nobody wins in hell. Nobody wins in hell. All you'll find in hell, people, are trapped souls, lost souls. Souls that have been overcome by, depression and abuse and trauma. The serial cheaters, the serial cannibals, etc. Lost souls drifting, cannot find the light. And we stepped out. We stepped into the light. Because narcissists were trying to, again, drag us to hell. We broke out again of those lower realms and we stepped into those higher dimensions. And that is why narcissists cannot step into the light. They're filled with too much darkness. Sandra Thomas writes, they have a seared conscience, a reprobate mind, a defiled heart, and immoral character. That's a very good description right there. A seared conscience, a reprobate mind, a defiled heart, and immoral character. That is what you were dealing with. That is exactly it right there. Yeah, so yeah, narcissists often try to if you have children with narcissists, again, it's gonna go right back to parental alienation. They're always gonna be trying to force the children into one of these roles, right? You know, scapegoat, golden child. Because if they can turn them into a golden child, then they'll turn them against you. It's all this. This is the narcissistic dysfunctional family system again. Everybody must be put into some kind of role to serve the narcissist. And oftentimes they like to convert the children into a golden child, or sometimes they beat them down into a scapegoat so that they don't seek help. It really depends on the narcissist. And it's just the golden children, the scapegoat, the lost child, etc. They will have to do the internal work, the same work that we're talking about here. They will have to unlearn the toxicity. They have to address their codependent issues and get the healing from wherever, finding a good coach, therapy, counseling, etc., etc., etc. But this is the game. This is the game. This is the warfare. And this is what we have to be aware of. This is what we have to be aware of. Let me grab some water. I see a question in the chat. So Bobby writes, could a percentage of the 85% of people also be soulless? Most people that aren't narcissists also feel soulless. Could it be that people are more than just unconscious, the NPC types? Okay. So yeah, understand that consciousness is a spectrum. So people that are in the 85% just have not had an ego death. So they're caught up in their ego in various, they're all down there at the bottom of the consciousness ladder, just in various degrees. So and all of them are unconscious. The NPCs, the narcissists, the serial cheaters, the serial abusers, the enablers, etc. And again, we have to have an ego death to spiritually awaken. So if somebody has not had an ego death, they won't spiritually awaken. And they'll be forever asleep, trapped in their ego until they do the work. That's really the main thing. They have to do the work. If no work is done, then there will be no change. Sandra T writes, my mom's emotionally 4, but I had my empathetic dad who is highly emotionally intelligent. And my mom devoured him, but I'm glad he divorced her. Yep. So that normally happens. Sometimes you have another parental figure that is more healthy than one. That kind of balances out the equation to a very good degree. But spiritual warfare is again understanding the dynamic between people that are like you and people that are not like you, right? So it is important today then that we are not projecting our consciousness onto other people because everybody doesn't think like us, right? We shouldn't be projecting, we should be discerning, right? We should be discerning the spirit. Look at how they're operating. Because narcissists are amoral or immoral in nature. They have poor character. They don't think like you. So, then it's dangerous then to expect benevolence from a malevolent spirit. They're an evil spirit. They don't like light, which is why they try to consume your energy. They try to consume your light. So know that the narcissist mission again, the narcissist mission is to keep you disconnected from your power. Keyword, disconnected from your power. Hawking scale, y'all. It's power, top of the Hawking scale versus force. Narcissists are keeping you from ascending because you step into power when you pass the line of courage. When you get to the line of courage, you're standing in your power. So what does courage mean? Courage, if you think about Scooby Dooby Doo, which is a spirit of fear, right? Scooby Dooby Doo, and most people should know that, right? Scooby Dooby Doo is a spirit of fear. And look how Scooby operates. He's afraid. He's afraid to go get things. Somebody comes in, he's running off. Then when we're talking about courage, that's a completely different vibration. Because courage says, you can go get that job that you want, right? That's courage. And that would be Scrappy Dappy Doo, right? Scrappy Dappy Doo is a courageous puppy. Scrappy says, let me go at him. Let me get him, right? So you don't fear narcissists. Oh my gosh, what if the narcissist leaves me? So what? That's fear. So what is courage? Courage is standing in your truth. Courage is standing in your power. Courage marks the line of transformation. Courage is what you use to go get help to heal. You seek professional help. You seek a good therapist, a good counselor, a good coach. Courage is what you use. You want to go ask somebody out on a date. The difference between you taking action is courage. Courage is 200. Is the line at the line of 200 on the Hawkins scale. And if you broke out of a narcissistic entanglement, then it took a lot of courage. There's no transformation until we get to the line of courage, because we were also filled with pride, weren't we? Yeah, we were filled with pride. They're going back and forth with the narcissist, trying to work things out. Narcissist, do you want us to go to therapy, narcissist? Bringing a devil into the office of a psychiatrist. People, what do you think the devil is going to do? People, that was pride on our hand, trying to fix the relationship. You get what I mean? But it's when we put down pride and we stepped into courage, we're like you're not even a nice person. Like, what am I trying to fix? You're not a nice person. I should leave. As a matter of fact, I want to be by myself. I don't even like people. People, that was courage. That was courage. Courage makes you leave. Courage makes you walk away. When you stand in your courage, you stand in your power. So what is it? Are you Scooby Dooby Doo, or are you Scrappy Dappy Doo? That's two different vibrations. Courage and fear are two completely different vibrations. They're close together, yes, but two completely different vibrations. And that is why you see that line on the cover of the book, Power versus Force, because when you're down here, people will rule you by force. Isn't that what was happening? Here's the narcissist, and here you are, and they were ruling us by force. Wasn't that what was happening? Were we not in victim abuser consciousness? So how do we not be a victim? We are not a victim when we stand in our truth, when we stand in our power, when we get courage. When we get the courage to walk away, when we get the courage to build our boundaries, when we get the courage to have financial boundaries, you stop lending the narcissist money. You know that they're not going to give you any money back. And some of you, narcissists stole from you. They stole from you. So courage says, no, leave me alone. I ain't gonna give you no money. Go away. Go home, Roger. Go home. That's courage. That's 200 or higher. Pathological narcissists do not have courage. They're cowards. Narcissists are not courageous people. They're cowards. They're adult bullies. They're cowards. They're intimidating spirits. And this is why when you stand your ground, narcissists have to flee. Let me say this again. When you know how to stand your ground, narcissists have to flee. Because what narcissists are looking for are low-hanging fruit that are easy. They're looking for people with porous boundaries so that they can come in and weasel their way in and siphon away your resources. Narcissists want low-hanging fruit. So how do you not be low-hanging fruit? You stand in your power. The narcissist comes with their victim story. Arr, 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 I'm a poor little doggy. I'm a poor little covert narcissist. Oh, my mommy abused me, and my dad, the dog, bit me. Oh my goodness, I'm a victim. And he said, oh wow, you're a victim. That is sad. And you maintain your frame. You don't fall for the okie doke. You don't fall for the scam. You discern the spirit. Discern the spirit. You don't fall for people's sad stories anymore. You discern. You ask clarifying questions. Are they healthy people? Are they not? So when you stand and encourage people, your fear of abandonment goes out the door. There's no scarcity. When you're in fear, you're in scarcity. There's no shortage of intimate partners, for people that want to get married or want to go and date again. There's no shortage of intimate partners. There's no shortage of friends. There is no shortage if you want to get into business. There's no shortage of business relationships. There is no shortage of there's no shortage of money. There's no shortage of anything. Because if for whatever reason you're thinking that there is a shortage, what that really is that you're in fear. You're in a state of lack. What if the narcissist leaves me? Let them leave. Let them leave if the narcissist wants to leave. But you see what keeps us in those entanglements? What was keeping us in those entanglements, people, was fear. Yeah, our vibrations were too low. We had work to do. So when you put down fear, take up courage. Get to the fourth dimension or higher. And that's what I mean when I tell you, you need to get to higher ground. There's no shortage of anything. But narcissists want you to believe in a shortage. And that's how they keep you trapped in that low vibrational state, because that low vibrational state is exactly where they are. Narcissists are low vibration. Narcissists are low vibrational beings. Low vibrational beings. Let me see. I just saw a comment. Mandy Not All Right. I'm no longer dealing with my narc ex-husband, but some friends keep turning up that turn out to be narcissists. As soon as I deal with one, another seems to arrive. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes, everybody. When you find that head demon in charge, because again, demons travel in teams. When you find that head demon in charge, people, you have to look out for those flying monkeys. Other people that are teaming up with the narcissists, because again, they're working in teams. They have their little hierarchies in their narc neural network. So when you get rid of the first narcissist, again, look around. See who is healthy, who is not. Then you have to just pluck out the enablers, and you have to pluck away those narcissists until you have a healthy environment around you. Demons travel in teams. Narcissists always need enablers. Very important to understand. Get rid of all narcissists and all flying monkeys. None of them are healthy. None of them are on your side. Anybody that sides with your enemy is an enemy of yours. Anybody that sides with your enemy is an Get rid of them. Get rid of them. And Bobby writes, I feel like I can't connect with most people at all. Could this be because we're in a 4D, so we can't connect any longer? It feels isolating. Yeah. Isolation is a part of the awakening process, y'all. And you are being isolated because your vibrations are similar, right? So know that when you wake up, you're up here. When you wake up, you're in a more expanded state, right? So when you're in a more expanded state, people that are at a lower level of consciousness are not going to resonate with you. So for Bobby and anybody else that is listening to the live, or anybody that re-watches this live, the reason why you feel so isolated is because you drifted to another level of consciousness. So you're at a higher vantage point so that you can see others level. You can see the other levels that other people are operating at. And they won't resonate with you because they're not at your resonant frequency. So what it is that no, you need to find people that are in your dimension again, similar colors on that part of the spectrum as you. So, you're going to need new friends, new family members. You're going to need a new circle similar to you, again, vibrationally, because this is what happened. Because again, we were down there in victim abuser consciousness again, we had stuff to do. None of us are perfect. And we were able to put down that victim identity and stand in our power, right? Stand in our power, going up, stand in our truth. So we are able to see that toxicity today. That is the disconnect. I call this the consciousness gap or the conflict gap. If the consciousness gap between you and somebody else is too far apart, there is going to be conflict. You're speaking English and they're speaking French. You won't understand each other because you're not equally yoked. You're not coming from the same dimension. You cannot see eye to eye. Spiritually, you're not at the same vibration. So physically, you don't feel like you resonate with them because you don't. All right. And with that said, you'd have to find again people that are your mission. Again, life is spiritual. Life is spiritual. Finding your community again, physically, you have to go out and about, where you are to find people in your own physical community, right? But you could hang out in the I see everybody, in the comment section on these videos, but that is where you're gonna have to find these communities. Otherwise, again, consider applying for the Master Your Energy group coaching program again. If you're still on your healing journey and you need that community support. So we talk about the same things on the channel. So we talk about healing, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, spiritual warfare, how to protect ourselves, how to heal from the dysfunctional family systems, how do we handle toxic people and so on. And we meet Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it is a classroom format, and again, it's offline in a group setting. So if you're looking for a good community, again, consider applying for MYE. But otherwise, again, people know that disconnect, because I went through that same disconnect. That is why I can speak about it, right? Know that disconnect is because you have leveled up. And because you have leveled up, those old friends can't come. They did not step into the new revolution. They did not agree with you to step into the fourth dimension. And that is why you have to find people that are going your speed or higher. Because again, we're all, ascending, right? Find people that are going your speed or higher. That's how you can see eye to eye with them. So know that if you're not seeing eye to eye physically, that is because you're not seeing eye to eye spiritually. Life is spiritual, right? Discern the spirit. There are people like you out there that are looking for you. You just have to know who to look for. All right. And just saw another question in the chat. So let me get to another question here. Kenneth Banks writes, why can't they achieve courage? Pathological narcissists cannot achieve courage because they cannot let go of their pride. They believe that their pride is their superpower. Hence, pride comes right before the fall. They fall right back down to shame to go through another shame pride cycle. So they have arrested development. That is why they cannot get to courage. But that does not mean that you have arrested development. You still have the ability to ascend. Narcissists can't self-reflect. All right. So Sandra T writes, they are terrified and paranoid, but act confident. Keyword act, right? So they don't have any competence in the confidence. And pathological narcissists, don't have that because they are filled with pride, grandiosity, right? They're filled with pride, dysfunctional pride. And a prideful person believes they're perfect. Perfect people don't need to change. Again, we have to let go of an orange marker to get up into that green zone. Narcissists cannot let go of that orange marker. They're holding on to it for dear life. They're holding on to that ego for dear life. And you need to have an ego death to spiritually awaken. And if they're still holding on to the ego, they won't ascend. Since they don't go up, they go down. Again, pride comes right before the fall, and you're going to fall right back down to shame. That's the cycle. It's arrested development. It's Groundhog's Day every single day with a pathological narcissist. Leisha Leggins writes, one time at the age of 9, my mother showed a sadistic side when she was trying to press my hair with a hot iron. She would intentionally burn me and act like it was my fault when I showed individualism. People sadism, all right, when you see sadism, when you see that Grinch grin, narcissists have a very Grinch Cheshire cat grin, and they have those pokey eyebrows and those cheeks when they do it. When you see sadism, when you see that Grinch grin that they call the duper's delight, right? When you see people liking pain, inflicting pain, and smiling, people, you run in the opposite direction. You run in the opposite direction. You go past go, you don't collect $200. When you see sadism in anybody, when you see envy, when you see empathy impairment, you need to run in the polar opposite direction. That's nothing less than the devil. They're operated by those lower energies, which means that they will eventually harm you. They will eventually harm you. Eventually, again, sadism is a dangerous thing to be seeing. And it's very difficult where you want to confide in someone and you're telling people that they're doing these things, and oftentimes people don't believe you. Very unfortunate reality. Sometimes we try to get help, and then the people that we're trying to get help from gaslight us, especially as children. If you say that your mother is doing something like that, or your parents are harming you, even as adults, you're telling people about the narcissistic relationship, and they were cheating and lying and doing all of these things. People don't believe you because they don't get it. So oftentimes you'll see where healing can be a very isolating experience. But again, you're not alone when you're in communities, healthy communities like this. And Alex writes, I can't find anyone in person either. It's been 2 years. Yeah. So yeah, it very well may be difficult to find other chosen ones, other light workers, other star seeds. But again, they are out there. And I'll probably maybe a video or maybe another live or something. I'll figure out how to do it. But it's actually quite easy to manifest friends, intimate partners, etc. if you know what to do and you know how to manifest. So it's easier than you think, even though there may be some difficulty. Because again, you are looking for someone, they're looking for you. There's somebody right now, looking for an Alex, or whatever your different names are. They're looking for you. And what it is that we have to adjust our sails to look in the right direction for people that meet the requirements that we're looking for. But again, chosen ones, light workers, star seeds, empaths, again, decent people are out there looking for people, again, exactly like you. So Alicia writes, my Christian faith tells me to love and think well of people, and I have an issue projecting good onto other people. How do I keep from projecting? That's a very good question. How do we keep from projecting? Do I have the projection slide here? No, I'll just use another slide. So know that discernment Discernment is the opposite of projection. And actually, let me go ahead, because I want to wrap up like in the next 30 minutes or so. Let me go ahead and fast forward. So when part two of this live, let me know in the comment section if you want like a part two, a spiritual warfare part two. But I'm gonna go to when you're being attacked, right? So let me just go here really quick. So know that when we're talking about spiritual warfare, know that the agenda, what do narcissists want, right? So know that the agenda is that they want your light. That is what they feed on, right? They want your soul energy. And again, you are generating this energy. You're an awakened soul, you're carrying light. So they want to consume that light, right? Narcissists are hunting spirits. They're hunting spirits, always hunting for supply. And they want to dominate and distort and consume that. And if you're a good person, they want to corrupt you. Because when they can corrupt you, they have company. Again, down there in that low level vibration where they operate at. Right? So know that this spiritual war is about consuming your energy, diverting you from your purpose, and keeping you from being a sovereign being. They don't want you to be a sovereign being. They want you to get stuck down there in those low level vibrations with them. So let's quickly cover, right? Let's go ahead and quickly cover signs you're on spiritual attack. And then again, if you want to do like a spiritual warfare part two, because I didn't get through a good bit of these slides and we can talk more about it, right? So let me see here. Yep. So y'all should be seeing what I'm seeing, right? So signs you're under spiritual attack. I could talk for days just on this one slide, all right? So when you're going through these entanglements, these are the things that you should be looking out for, all right? Chronic confusion. You're just constantly confused, things are not making sense. Chronic confusion. Oh my goodness, people, that is a red flag, right? Chronic confusion, right? Fear, like uncontrollable amounts of fear, shame. You just feel so down, and you feel so down, and you cannot get back up, right? Self-doubt, you don't trust yourselves. Oh my goodness, people, something is wrong. Something is very, very wrong, right? Your intuition should be raising alarm bells in around this time. If you're in, again, chronic confusion, fear, shame, or self-doubt, very dangerous things to see. And again, let me see it in the chats. I'll get to the chats here in just a bit. But let me know in the chat section if y'all want spiritual warfare part two, 101 part two. All right. So these are the signs, and I could come up with a whole other list on this, right? But these are the signs when you know you're being spiritually attacked. Again, if life is spiritual and darkness exists and so does light, we want to commune with light beings, right? We want loving people, kind people, conscious people, grateful people that we can grow together with, right? We want similar people like us. So again, if life is spiritual, it is important that we learn where to draw that line, right? There's a line in the sand. That's why I always put that line on the Hawkins scale. There's a line between power and force. So how do we stay up here in our powerful state? We have to learn about these forceful people that exist down here in these lower realms. All right. So next up, signs you're under spiritual attack again. You went from narcissistic relationship, the narcissistic relationship, the narcissistic relationship, the narcissistic, and you can't put your head above water. That is not normal, right? You married, three ex-wives, and all the three ex-wives are narcissists. One is a narcissist. One is called Brenda, the borderline. One is Susie, the sociopath. One is Nancy, the narcissist. Right? Repeating toxic cycles despite knowing better. People, that's spiritual. There's some deep work that needs to be done if we, myself included, if we are repeating these cycles. That is how you know that there's work that needs to be done, because physically, if you're not getting the results, there's something wrong spiritually. Because we create from the spirit, the spiritual to the physical, right? We, the spirit, we are using our minds. We're using our emotions, and this is what we're seeing in the physical realm. So if we're going through these cycles over and over and over again, and we are on that demonic carousel, there is work that we have to do, right? That is internal work, right? So repeating toxic cycles despite knowing better. And this takes self-reflection, and we have to look within ourselves. Why are we in these entanglements going back and forth with narcissists? Right? Why are we still playing these games, these devil games with these individuals? We have to look within ourselves. All right. Next up, oh my goodness, people, I could do a whole live just on that. You have to look out for strange ailments. Strange ailments, strange sicknesses out of nowhere. People, like, let's say you have your headaches are on, level 5. Your headaches, you. But when these toxic people come around, your headaches are on 10. Not only do you have headaches, your headaches turn into a migraine. You have sudden onset alopecia. Your skin is breaking out. Your skin is breaking out. You're losing weight. You're gaining weight. You're going to the doctor. You're feeling sick and the doctor can't find anything. These are things that you have to look out for. Strange physical ailments, because again, if there is war in the spirit, eventually we can see those signs in the physical realm. Right? You're having stomach issues, IBS, digestive problems, reproductive issues, erectile dysfunction, back pain out of nowhere. People, the list goes on. So when you're in your normal state versus an abnormal state. And again, spiritual warfare can manifest itself physically in the form of, again, strange ailments. And it's like, and you're going to the doctors and the doctors can't figure it out because it's spiritual. All right. And next up, another sign that you are being drained again, or you're being attacked, is again feeling drained around certain people. And I call this an underworldly lethargy. It's not normal. You will know. Sometimes you don't even have to talk to the narcissist. You just physically go around them. You physically go around them, and it's like you want to sleep. That is something to look out for. All right, these are things that you should look out for as it relates to spiritual attacks. All right, so I see a couple of people saying there should be a part 2. Let me see. Yep, there you go. Sandra Thomas writes, I need a 3-hour nap after being around my sister, even being on the phone. Yep, that is how you know. Even talking to them, you don't even have to see them. Even talking to them, walking by them, sometimes it's just they drain the life force out of you. That is how you know that something else deeper is happening in the spirit. That is how you know. All right, so let's talk about to protect ourselves. All right, let's talk about some tools we can use to protect ourselves. How do we stay strong in this warfare? Right, so know that in order to not project, and what is projection again? Projection is thinking that you think like the narcissist. So you're a decent person. You think the narcissist is a decent person. You're a kind person. You think the narcissist is a kind person. You have an open heart and a loving heart, and you would give somebody the shirts off your back. You think the narcissist is a loving person, and the narcissist would give somebody that's the shirt, right? That's projection. There's no thinking really being done. You're just projecting. You think what is in your mind is in the other person's mind. Now, what you should be doing instead is discern. Discern. Sit and observe. Right? Not everything nice is good. Sit and observe. Right? Chucky is smiling at you, yes, but Chucky is operated by the spirit of a serial killer. Chucky is a deceiver. Right? So know that there are 8 billion people on this planet, which means that there are 8 billion levels of consciousness. That is where discernment comes in, because what you're discerning is, where are they on the consciousness ladder? Because we are somewhere on the consciousness ladder. So where are they? Are they close to you? Are they far apart? Where are they? That is discernment. So you stop projecting when you start discerning, and you very well may have a blind spot when it comes to projecting. And if you do, that is where one-on-one coaching, counseling, therapy, again, whatever makes sense for you, wherever you are. That is where you can work with somebody so that you can see where your blind spots are. Because again, this is coming from our family upbringing, right? So we're learning new skills here. So you have to discern, where do they fall on the consciousness ladder? That is discernment. Because projection says, I have a green marker, they have a green marker. I have a blue marker, they have a. That's not true. No, narcissists are stuck in the red zone. So how do we discern, right? We sit and we observe the fruit. What are they doing? You will eventually see the fruit, rotten roots. You will eventually see it, right? So number one, discern, 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 discern. And all of the different videos on the channel essentially talk about discernment, even if I don't, right? Even if I don't say the word discernment, all of them are there to teach you discernment. All of them are there to teach you discernment, to understand again that life is spiritual and darkness exists, and so does light. Where are they on the spectrum? Are they kind of in the middle? Where are they? That is the discernment, right? So number two are boundaries. Boundaries are your best friend. Boundaries are your best friend because your boundaries are there to protect you. And now here's the thing, you're a multi-dimensional being. So there are many different levels to your boundaries. Your spiritual boundaries, mental boundaries, emotional boundaries, psychological boundaries, physical boundaries, sexual boundaries, financial boundaries, right? But all of this again truly comes with knowing thyself. So know that we have porous boundaries, meaning that people can come in like narcissists and these toxic people can come in because we inherited these porous boundaries from our dysfunctional family system. Again, we saw victim mentality and we saw abusive behavior. This is what we inherited. So we very well may have porous boundaries, and this is how these toxic personalities are coming in. So we're going to need concrete boundaries. And similarly for this, if you have a blind spot, that is when you need to seek, get help with that to see, where your chinks in your armor, where the narcissist coming in. Because it could be that you have, maybe decent financial boundaries, but you have poor emotional boundaries, right? So then you need more work on the emotional boundaries and the financial one or the physical ones and so on. And number three is very important, and that's going to be you're connecting to spirit, whatever that means to you, connecting to yourself, staying grounded, right? Praying, meditating, cleansing your energy, cleansing the energy of your space, and also making sure that you're keeping good spiritual hygiene with who you're keeping around you. Very important that we're doing this now. Who are you keeping around you? Because again, they should be similar, right? You don't want these toxic people over here in your group. You don't want narcissists. You don't want enablers. You need clean, again, decent people around you. All right. So spiritual practices, we have to discern who we are dealing with. We have to discern, right, who we're dealing with. And you may, if you're going through spiritual warfare, you got to keep up with your spiritual practices. All right. Um, so yeah, Gary Mullen writes, sometimes I would go outside and walk because I would get headaches around the narcissist. Yep. So, sometimes you'll see where, you just going for a walk, that puts you in a better state of frame. So that will help you. Yeah. Distancing yourself from these people. That's a good boundary right there. All right. Number four, also, y'all, again, find community. You need healthy people around you. So isolation is a part of the healing process, yes. But after the isolation, you need healthy people. You need decent friends. And I'm not saying you need 10 people, 10 friends. No, you need maybe one or two. But you need healthy people around you. You need healthy supporting people around you. So number four is community. You're not meant to fight this alone, right? So find, be a part of the community, the NarcDojo community and other channels, that you may be a part of. But eventually, again, a part of the work is finding healthy friends. Because you may have the narc friend, was an enemy. Get rid of the narc friend, find a good friend, right? If you're, you came out of a old marriage, do that work, maybe you want to get married again. That's a healthy community, right? We need healthy community besides being isolated, because we were being isolated because we didn't have a healthy community, right? So number four, know that you're not meant to fight this alone. And when you have other warriors around you that can help you to fight, that fight will be so much easier. All right. Um, and universally authentic writes, do you believe it is possible to have a relationship with my 9-year-old niece if my brother is narcissistic? Um, it will be difficult because what normally happens is a narcissistic parent grooms the child to abandon, neglect, or abuse other family members. So I'm assuming that if the brother is very narcissistic, then you're most likely like the scapegoat. And what they would be grooming the child to do is to abuse the scapegoat. So it very well may be difficult. And again, with situations like this, you're going to have proper boundaries. I don't know what exactly that means for you, but it's oftentimes difficult to have healthy relationship with children raised by a highly narcissistic parent, because the parent is going to try to corrupt the child against you, being that you're the aunt in this example. All right. One more, the last tip here when it comes to spiritual warfare. Get coaching if you need help, right? There's nothing, don't feel embarrassed or ashamed if you need help. I went to therapy also besides me doing coaching here. And a great therapist is a great asset, all right? But know that when it comes to like the deep spiritual stuff that we're talking about here, that may not be a therapist, a psychotherapist may not be equipped for spiritual stuff, right? But for stuff dealing with codependence, CPTSD and so on, find a good therapist, find a good coach, book a session with me, find a good counselor, find someone that truly understands spiritual warfare and how you can protect yourself against these people that are attacking you, right? So seek a good coach, seek a good therapist, because again, this is the warfare that you're dealing with, and this is what you need to know how to break out of. To Right. So solutions, y'all. Besides, watching these videos, again, doing your personal healing. If you need healing, find somebody like local to you. Find somebody to talk to. Really is the main thing. A huge part of healing, is talking in these comment sections. Watching these videos. Reading books about codependence, CPTSD, narcissistic abuse. Dysfunctional family systems. But again, we have to address our childhood trauma. Otherwise, we're not gonna heal. And if you have blind spots, again, seek a professional that can help. I, for one, sought help here a couple of years ago when I was going through this, besides the work that I was doing on my own. And that definitely helped me. So know that you shouldn't be going through narcissistic relationship after relationship after relationship after relationship. That means that something is wrong with us internally. And it just means that there is some work for us to do, right? So when it comes to resources, go ahead and check out the NarcDojo.com website. And also know that on the channel, I post, there are like daily videos here. There are over 900 videos, y'all, on the YouTube channel. So if you watch the new videos, consider going back, maybe watching some of the older videos. So many different videos on all of the different aspects of healing. Alrighty, let me see where we got to. And Alex writes, I was attacked recently and I was spared since I have been doing the healing work, but the attack manifested in roaches in my car and fleas on my cat. Yeah, I'm gonna do a part 2 of this so that we can really delve into the attacks, the actual warfare, right? So this is a part 1. I'll do a part 2, so just stay tuned for when we get to that, right? Which we'll eventually get to. So I'll do a part 2 for the spiritual warfare 101 live. So just stay tuned to the channel to see when I'm gonna eventually get to that. So I'm gonna wrap up approximately like 1:45. So drop your comments down in the comment section, and I'm gonna try to get to most of them. So somebody says, can anyone tell which vibration the person is at based on their voice? Maybe. And if the person is angry, you can tell if they're angry. But again, you can discern where people are coming from. Eventually, you will see. All right, so Leisha Leggins writes, how much for the class? I think you mean MYE. So MYE for the entire year is 5,000. And then I'm bringing up, I'm going to put on the website for like a half a year, which should be about half the price. So that comes with the, for the entire year. So that comes with the MYE. Again, it's weekly, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 6 p.m. EST. Again, be clear on your time zone, right? So I'm in EST. I'm on the East Coast. I'm in the DMV. um so yeah, it comes with the coaching program, and then there's a course, and then you also get the Ascension Vault, all within the MYE coaching program. And then I also do one-on-one coaching, so that's one-to-one, because again, MYE again is a group coaching program, so you're going to be other people in the class. And we're going to be talking about, again, spiritual warfare. Warfare prayers. I know Tila, if Tila is in the comment section, I haven't seen her name in a while, but if Tila or Sandra Lindstrand is in the comment section, we talk about spiritual warfare prayers, right? How to navigate toxic relationships, everything again, CPTSD, somatic healing, abandonment trauma. So, because again, narcissistic abuse is something that I went through, which is why I can speak about it so clearly. And I know, because it's a knowing, it's knowledge, right? There's a huge chunk of the information that you will not get if you're only getting the information from the clinical community, right? Because again, psychology is not really giving you the spiritual warfare information that a lot of you need, especially again, sleep paralysis. You're hearing seeing shadow figures, or you're having these paranormal activity around your home. That is spiritual, right? That part is not psychological. However, know that through MYE on the channel, again in the one-on-ones, again I'll take you from A to Z on exactly what you need to heal properly, right? Because again, if you're being spiritually attacked, you're gonna have to know how to defend yourself. Because if you don't get it in the physical, what if you're being tormented in your dreams? What if you're getting those sleep paralysis episodes? All of those different things again is what we talk about in the coaching program. Or again, if you have personal questions, just go ahead and book a one-on-one session with me online, and we'll talk about whatever is happening. And oh, here's a good question. Talking about sleep paralysis. So let's see. So Forsaken One writes, has anyone ever tested salt around the bed to counteract sleep paralysis or sage? So here's the thing with sleep paralysis. All right, especially again if it's coming from, again, if you were dealing with a narcopath, and a lot of these people are in sorcery, you will get those kind of attacks, right? Because they're going to try to attack you in the spiritual. So it's not about the salt around your bed or the sage, right? Because even before you get to the physical environment, are you right internally to deal with the attack, right? Because if you're still communing with the narcissist, there's no amount of salt or sage that you can burn, or Palo Santo or rosemary that's going to help you, because you're still communing with them, right? And this is why you have to cut them off. So number one, have you cut ties with the narcissist? Because you're getting those spiritual attacks, for example, sleep paralysis, because there's a connection, right? And we're talking about soul level connection here with the narcissist. And you'll see where, as you sever those soul ties or those spiritual ties, the attacks in the physical will fade, right? The sleep paralysis will fade, the paranormal activity, the insomnia, etc., will fade once you address the spiritual, right? So can sage and Palo Santo and putting using salt and having baths and so on help? Yes, but you have to again address that spiritual and soul. Oh, okay. Yeah, so yeah, the live got kicked out for a little bit, but that's okay. Because when the lives kind of go on for a little bit, for whatever reason, my Wi-Fi doesn't really like it. Or maybe it's Google on the app. Alrighty. So Just the last final words before we wrap up today's live. And again, stay tuned to the channel. I do a part 2 of this same spiritual warfare kind of subject, because there's a lot more questions that I could cover in these 2 hours. All right. Yeah, so yeah, Forsaken One writes, can you tell the lies by their voice? Again, sometimes yes, you can pick up lies in people's voices. Again, you just have to discern, right? You're discerning the intent behind their sugary sweet words. So again, all of that is discernment. All of that is discernment. Yeah, so yeah, thanks Sandra and Tila for the good feedback. Yeah, so if y'all are, because group coaching may not be for coaching, so development and just being aware. I talk about this in detail every, 3 times a week, every week in the Master Your Energy group coaching program. And yep, yeah, I'm definitely gonna be talking about that. I'm happy that you brought that up. Land of Goshen. So Land of Goshen writes about the incubus or succubus spirit. So we'll definitely get into that in part 2 of Spiritual Warfare 101. Because again, the different entities that may be attacking you. And Sandra Thomas writes, like humiliation rituals. Absolutely. We can definitely dive deeper into this in the next live. And Tila writes, the MYE classes with NarcDojo will help with healing and giving insight on how to develop discernment. Yep. Discernment. People, you have to discern the spirits that are around you. And discernment is just not taught through traditional education. And that is why you kind of have to find these niche pockets to understand, truly how to discern, because again, we are multidimensional beings. So we're spirit governing a body, and we have access to tools, again, mind, will, emotions. You have to understand all facets of your being to truly transcend the narcissistic abuse. So, either get more group coaching, depending on where you are at. Again, watch the videos on the channel. But know that after you step away from the videos, again, there's work to be done outside of YouTube, right? In addressing that childhood trauma. So thank you, Tila, for your positive feedback. Yeah, so hopefully the connection kind of stabilized. So let me see. So yeah, today was a really good session for just stopping in, sharing your insights, because we are all healing and growing, when we're sharing all of this information together. So look out for, again, those spiritual attacks. Know how to protect yourself. Stay prayed up, continue to meditate. And again, with awareness, you're able to identify and avoid, keyword avoid, these toxic personalities. But it definitely does take awareness. Definitely does take awareness. One-on-one coaching, group coaching, other resources. Go ahead and check out the NarcDojo.com website. Or when you're watching the video, just leave a comment, in the comment section. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So I'm gonna wrap up today's session, but thank you again, everybody, for stepping in. I saw people from Australia was in the building, Trinidad is in the building. So people from all walks of life, again, are going through this warfare. That is what is bringing us together. And it's just, we are we're trying to keep our heads above ground with the warfare that we are going through. And again, we're all going through it in various degrees. And it's good that we can find, communities like this where we can revive ourselves, or a small haven of sorts that we can use to grow. All right, good people. Have a very good rest of your Friday or Saturday, I think, for the people that are in Australia or the other time zones. But take very good care of yourselves. Again, be aware, be vigilant. Again, always stay aware. Keep your head on a swivel. Again, protect yourself and stand in your power. Again, when you know what you're dealing with, again, these entities cannot attack you. It's when you're unaware, is when you're an unawakened empath, is when they can come in and cause havoc, right? But again, stand your ground because light is stronger than the darkness, but you have to be aware of where you stand and you have to stand your ground. Don't allow them to knock you off your square. All right, good people. Have a good rest of your Friday. Take very good care of yourselves. Again, protect yourselves. Be aware because these narcs are out here. All right, so shout outs to Tila. I'll see y'all in in the next session. Shout out to Sandra Lindstrand. And thank you for moderating the today's session. I appreciate all the help. So yeah, Leisha, Alex, Forsaken One, everybody that is here, again, just make a note of the questions that you have and bring them to the next Spiritual Warfare 101 session. And again, stay tuned to the channel to see when I'll do the next one. And I'll make the announcement whenever I get the images and everything ready for that. All right, so I am Ro. Thank you for thanking me. Thank you for the information. It feels like a lot of work to do for myself, and I want to get out of those lower vibrations. Not getting angry, not having fear. Absolutely possible. So again, healing is possible. It just takes time to overcome, all of the baggage that we have. All right, good people, take very good care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next live session, or I'll see you in a one-on-one, or I'll see you in the MYE group coaching program. So have a good rest of your Friday, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.